So, we've done this work, Brett, and we've come up with this assumption that if I try to connect with others, I'll be rejected. And that's kind of a rule that you've got, right? And what is it that we identified that then is kind of the rule, actually, that flows from that? What is it that you do?
So I don't try to connect with others.
Right.
Yeah.
So the rule kind of is don't connect with others or protect yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder what it would be like for us to experiment with this a little bit and maybe kind of challenge you to try something and then see what actually happens to see if this rule is true or not. So this would be a behavioral experiment. Are you willing to give this a shot?
Yeah, it's anxiety provoking, but
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, this is going to be a bit of a challenge, but it's about gathering data to see if we can learn something new. Okay? So if we were to experiment with this rule, that basic idea that don't connect with others for fear of rejection, how would you experiment with it? Is there anybody in your life that you could try to connect with differently or try to build a relationship somehow?
Yeah, I mean, there's some acquaintances I have, at work that, I'd like to become friends with.
Okay, good.
But, I'm just afraid that if I try to, connect with them, they'll say no.
They'll say no. Yeah, right. Okay. So let's get to that when we get to our prediction, but let's get pretty concrete about this. So is there one person in particular that you'd like to kind of develop a relationship, one of these acquaintances?
Yeah, I could think of someone. Yeah.
Okay, what's that person's name?
John.
John. Okay. And so, what could you do with John that would kind of test this a little bit?
I could ask him if he wants to go, see a baseball game. Or
Sure.
something.
Okay. Sure. So ask John to go to a baseball game. All right, and with that, let's get even more kind of concrete. How are you going to do that? Are you going to call, going to text, send an email? And is there a game in mind? Let's just get really clear.
Probably best to ask him in person.
Okay.
But yeah, there's the Blue Jays are in town, and tickets are really cheap, and
okay.
Yeah, I could think of a game on Wednesday.
On Wednesday,
yeah.
Okay. And you'd want to ask him in person.
I think so.
Okay. You sound a little hesitant about that.
Well, I know I don't want to.
Right.
I know that's probably the best way you do these things.
Sure. So you'll ask him in person to go to the game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And what do you think? How would we kind of gather? You've got this idea that you're going to get rejected. So in terms of the data that we're gathering, what are we going to look for or see or experience that would help us know whether or not you're being rejected or not?
If he says no,
Okay.
I'd probably interpret that.
Okay. So if John says no, that equals rejection. I mean, maybe we can...
Could equal rejection.
Yeah, could equal rejection, maybe. Okay. What other kind of stuff would you want to look for to see whether there's in fact rejection or acceptance?
If he says yes,
Okay.
then that would indicate possible acceptance.
Yeah. That could mean acceptance. Okay.
Maybe enthusiasm levels.
Okay. And how would you gauge that?
Just, I think I can tell, if somebody's just trying to be polite, and be like, okay, sure, but I'm not really interested. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, being polite.
So be polite, but...
not really wanting to go,
Yeah. And how would you judge that?
I think it's intuitively, or, by the level of warmth, maybe, that he would show in the acceptance and enthusiasm, right? Just in terms of how happy, excited he seems to do this.
Yeah, and I guess my only concern around that, maybe we talk about that in barriers, is like, how does your anxiety and this fear of rejection, does that help you see things clearly when you're interacting with others, or does that impact it in a negative way?
Yeah, I would think it makes me a little bit defensive.
Right.
A little on guard.
Right. So I'd agree. And so sometimes what is best is if we come up with that's like concrete things. If there's a smile or no smile. If he says like this, yes or no, kind of is a good place to start. Maybe we'd be able to judge whether there's kind of a pause or no pause in him saying yes. Do you see what I'm saying? Just getting a little more concrete with this. What do you think? Enthusiasm levels, that kind of stuff. How would we gauge this?
I do think it's hard to quantify, but I think there's an intuitive judgment anyway.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. Can you think of anything that would...
Well, I'm wondering about, I agree, it's a little bit tricky, right? Because people will typically smile, and that doesn't necessarily mean... But maybe why don't you use your intuition, but let's just not hold it as the gospel truth. Should we do it that way?
So a tentative...
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, so why don't we say, like, you use your intuition to judge enthusiasm?
Yeah.
And would you just put that, on like a 1 to 10 scale or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But then we'll kind of hold that lightly. Does that work? Okay.
Another thing I thought of would be he goes, but doesn't invite me to do something.
Okay, afterwards.
Afterwards,
okay.
Right.
Right.
That's kind of the end.
So, okay. So it'll be that he goes with you, but then whether or not there's an invitation afterwards.
Yes, to extend the relationship.
Right. Okay. And that'll be a yes or no.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've got some pretty concrete things. So just whether he says yes or no, and we have to wonder what that means. Your own kind of subjective sense of how enthusiastic he is on a scale of 1 to 10. And then kind of seeing afterwards, did he ask you out afterwards, or is there something else that you'd want to do later, that kind of stuff. Okay, how's that all feel?
Yeah, feels good to put it in those terms.
Okay. What do you guess is going to happen? So you're going to ask him in person. What do you think is going to happen?
John's polite, so I think he'll probably say yes, but maybe with less enthusiasm and with no invitation.
Okay.
Afterwards.
John will say yes, but with less enthusiasm and no invite after.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, that's what we're going to see will happen. Okay, that's what we're going to test and see. And if you think about doing this, you have to go and find him and ask him in person and get that game set up. Are there any barriers or things that get in the way from you doing that?
Anxiety.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll chicken out.
You're going to chicken out.
Yeah.
How would we overcome that, Brett?
Could I put a contingency plan that if I can't do it in person, I'll do it in email?
Sure. How does that feel to you?
It feels better.
Does it? Okay.
I still want to try to do it in person, but like if I just chicken out, then
do it
maybe email
Okay.
could work.
Sure. Okay. Let's do that. I'll have a contingency plan. Email instead. Is there anything that you could, we use all of our cognitions to help us get through things. Is there any kind of thought we could put in place that would help you to do this?
Well, even that thought right there, I only said that after really analyzing it. My worst thought is he's just going to say no and hate me. Or not hate, but just be indifferent towards me or whatever. So that thought is helpful.
This one here.
Yeah, that he will probably say yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was wondering even about something like, it's just an experiment, or, I'm doing this to find something out, something like that, just to kind of almost take the pressure off. This is almost not real life. You're just sort of trying to see what will happen. Okay. Does that help at all, or?
Yeah, to distance myself a little bit from, to give a different reason for doing it.
Sure.
Yeah, that helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
What thought might work there?
I like, this is an experiment. This is gathering data.
Okay.
My therapist told me.
My therapist, blame it on me, that always works. Okay. And just finally, what if he's busy? Or what if the games, I know they've got the dome, but what if it's rained out or canceled? What do you do then?
Try to postpone, I
Postpone?
think. Yeah,
okay.
That's what I would think.
Okay. Would you, till when, do you think?
Maybe I would just ask him when would be a better time,
So if he's busy, you ask for another time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So just to review, you've got this rule that if I try to connect with others, I'll be rejected, and we're going to experiment with that by asking John to go to a baseball game. You're going to try to ask him in person on Wednesday, or ask him to go to the game on Wednesday. What we're going to look for is whether he says yes or no. We're going to judge his enthusiasm level and see whether or not he invites you kind of for a follow-up excursion or something like that. And you predict he's going to say yes, but not have a lot of enthusiasm or follow-up. And here's what we're going to try to get over the anxiety by having a contingency plan, remembering that this is just an experiment, it's my therapist's fault, that kind of thing. And then if he's busy, you'll ask for another time. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So homework will be to figure this out, and you can bring it back next time.
Okay.
Okay.